Hello and welcome everyone to our 54th session of Hello Casa. My name is Michael and today I'm talking to Daniel Yepez from Guanacaste in Costa Rica. Daniel is originally from Venezuela, used to be living in the US for a long time and now has been living for almost 20 years in Costa Rica in Guanacaste in a very beautiful small village on the Pacific Ocean. Daniel, it's really nice to have you. You have a very interesting CV, a very interesting professional background, very diverse. I'm super curious about that to talk to you about that. So, welcome to the show. Why don't you introduce yourself to our audience?
Sure. Michael, thank you so much for having me in your show today, and really appreciate the work that you were doing with Halo Casa Real Estate. And really excited to share some of my accountings here. I've been, like you well said, close to 20 years in Costa Rica, in different parts of Costa Rica. I happen to be now in Guanacaste, Costa Rica, right on the Pacific coast,
Mhm.
in a beautiful location out here.
Okay, great. Tell us a little bit about your journey to this location. I'm right now sharing where it is exactly located for the audience on YouTube, so that people get an idea of where it is exactly located, and also then talking a little bit about Guanacaste itself.
Sure. So Costa Rica is a country that is quite small in size. Its population is about 5 million people, and it's the size of West Virginia, or 52,000 kilometers of area. And there's a lot of beautiful areas throughout Costa Rica. Guanacaste happens to be a very beautiful location. It's where there's an abundance of white sand beaches, and I mentioned that because if you go into maybe the central or south Pacific, it's more volcanic sand, darker sand. Nothing wrong with that sand either, by the way. It's just
Mhm.
this is the Guanacaste area. So it's more of a dry forest area. So Costa Rica has the different types of jungles, and
Mhm.
you have cloud forest, and this one would be considered more of a dry forest, which is beautiful during the seasons. The two main seasons in this country is rainy season and then the dry season. We're having to be right now in the middle of the dry season in Costa Rica. Beautiful, sunny, clear skies all the time. And it's just really a wonderful place. It has a lot of immersion, a lot of culture immersion. And primarily, it used to be an area that was more predominantly from Nicaragua at one time, and then it broke away and became a Costa Rican province.
Mhm.
So Guanacaste is a beautiful location and one that is growing quite rapidly.
Guanacaste has I don't know if it's a town or a city. Tamarindo is one of the locations in Guanacaste, one of the more famous ones. I don't know if it's the biggest
Yeah,
one. How is what is that? And can you give us an overview of that location?
sure. Sure. Tamarindo is, I would consider, a hot spot, meaning
Mhm.
it's a destination location within Costa Rica, and in this case, Guanacaste. The second place that I would consider that would be Nosara, for example.
Mhm.
In Nosara is also considered by some the yoga capital of Costa Rica. So the location specifically where I'm at happens to be right in the middle of both those two destinations. Tamarindo Hop offers absolutely anything, almost in anything and everything that someone from, say, North America would be wanting as far as services and amenities, hotels and beachfront and all the activities that you can find in a small beach town. Tamarindo would have.
Okay. And close to, you're located in Playa Lagarto. I hope I pronounce it correctly. And close to that is also Los Pargos, which on Google Maps and going to my research is a little bit larger than Playa Lagarto, correct?
Yes, correct. And then, and if you go, if you continue down south, you'll get to the Marbella, the Nosara, and it's several different small little towns. One more bigger than others. Nosara happens to be a very predominant expat location community as well, and it's mixed with locals all throughout. But in every one of these little small towns, there's beautiful little spots, beaches that are pretty much deserted, and beautiful background and settings that you can see around.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me allow myself to switch back to your curriculum. You're from Venezuela. You then went to the University of Florida. You were working for ProMate Costa Rica. You were working for United Biofuels of America. You were working for the Costa Rican newspaper as a writer. You have a lot of experience as a real estate consultant at Sotheby's, running a call center with more than 100 people, promoting Costa Rica as a destination. And now you're having a new destination or a new project. Have been running that and started that like 2 years ago. To be honest, I haven't met that many people who have such a diverse curriculum, which I think is super impressive. And I really admire, because it's really like cutting the life into different chunks and really making the most out of it, and really also redefining yourself and your personality over and over again. Prior to our call, you also talked about like you're a bridger, and I really think it's very inspiring using that word for your personality. Can you walk us a little bit through your curriculum, through the entire journey, starting with the University of California down to where you're at the moment?
Sure. And rather than just walking it through, let's see if we can do a little fast paced of all of that so we can get through it as best as we can. But yes, indeed. I mean, my life has been shaped through our experiences in this world. And I had the opportunity to be raised in the US. I'm originally from Venezuela, as you well mentioned. And then being in the US allowed me to pretty much shape my brain into two different areas, both one which was focused around Latin America and the other one was focused around North America. And I've been able to cross over to both sides very easily. And throughout the years and the work that I've done, it has helped me tremendously in many different ways. I ended up graduating in the University of Florida, and ultimately developed projects all throughout Venezuela, did several startups in Venezuela, and I've been in Inca for 19 years. These 19 years have given me a lot of beautiful experiences in Costa Rica, and I set out myself as an entrepreneur. I've been in a young age, and ultimately looking to problem solve, and that's kind of how I lead my life, kind of with a 3 rule of thumb, which is identify the problem, find the solution, and monetize. And through that system, I've been able to venture into different areas of just life experience. In those, I've started it. I was involved heavily with the real estate market for quite some time. I took the real estate process in Costa Rica. I took it to the next level, setting up a call center operation where we had about 100 people on the phone at one time. And we did a lot of marketing on television, radio, internet, and all sorts of mediums, and really did amazing work in order to, kind of reach out and touch to people. Before, real estate was done in a very rudimentary way down here. And I was able to fine tune how to properly work away and where I can attract people to Costa Rica first, and then from there provide for their needs and their desires. That has evolved in many different ways for myself. I was selected in 2012 by Shell Oil as one of the top 25 global energy entrepreneurs. The energy sector opened up for me soon after the real estate market took a hard hit and tumbled. Actually, the whole entire world, the economy did that. And of course, it led me into the pathways of life, and where I've been was heavily involved in the alternative fuels, alternative energy, heavily involved in biofuels, specifically agrofuels for a certain point. Sold my company at that time, and been waiting really along in the sidelines, I would say, for the last 10 years to really jump back in one way, shape, or form into the real estate world. And I find myself now, after a personal journey of myself where I've evolved and grown, and find myself with a lot more spiritual connection than I was in the past. And essentially has led me to where I am now in my current project, In this case, resonance is where I'm focused my attention. Resonance isn't necessarily a single destination or destination location. It's more about emitting a frequency out and ultimately attracting those that are in tune or in harmony with that frequency at whatever stage or whatever area in their life there may be in their own journey. The idea is to bring those people together that we can all think alike. A lot of us out there wanting to co-create a different world, and in that sense, it's where I am now.
Wow, amazing. Thank you so much for the overview. I'm now trying to pull off some of the aspects you just said. Starting with real estate, you started various years ago. How has the real estate market evolved? Also, the way you do business in Costa Rica?
Yeah, and that's definitely a good question. As I said, I came from an organization that I put together and had a huge operation and was ultimately doing an enormous amount of real estate sales and projects throughout this process. Things have changed in a way. They've changed for me, but I think they're also changing for the world. And it's for me, I'd like to go back into that state of reaching out and touching someone. So for me, it's about connection. For me, it's about doing things with a lesser impact in our world, looking at where our humanity is evolving, has evolved, and continues to evolve, and where we are at right now with the state of the situation of our planet, of our environment, of our own society. And that is, I began a process that really was born close to 2 years ago, and it's really resonating tremendously with a lot of people. And essentially, I'm looking at ways of doing things that are completely, maybe even radical for some, but completely different than how they've been used. And it's really has nothing to do about sales anymore. It's really a personal aspect on my end, personal approach of just taking action, leading by example. That, I live in Costa Rica, and I try to improve what's already there, especially on the environmental aspect of that project. How can we improve that? How we can make it better than what it is today? And if anybody goes forth, because we do have an interesting expansion throughout Resonance, is to do it in a way that is sustainable and environmentally friendly, and bring about all the know-how and experience that I've gained throughout the years in both renewable energies, alternative energies, and development world. So Costa Rica personally has gone through its own transition. It continues to evolve, but it's highly attractive market today, especially for those that are wanting to escape the norm and their lifestyle in which they are. They're looking for a better way of life. And what I'm creating here is essentially a fertile ground for people that can ultimately land in this and then put together a better world. That I helps explain a little bit your question.
No, absolutely. Thank you so much. It's. I went to your website and I think it's super interesting. The way you describe it is it's like, as you say, like it's not a one destination location. It's for a lot of people who like to be a little bit maybe have a slower life, but also be more connected to the nature. And working, you're offering co-working, you're offering co-living, you're offering yoga retreats, you're offering detox courses, but also not, on the other hand, like being that radical to say, no, I don't want to have to do anything with the outside world anymore. I forgot who I used to be, and I forgot about sales and forgot about marketing. I am more leveraging those tools in order to run this lifestyle, to run this business, and also to be successful on this segment. And I think like there are a lot of your experiences and your aspects are coming into play, where you can definitely leverage yourself. Concerning the entire biofuels topic, how did that work? What did you do there exactly?
I had a Gump moment, and I say Gump because, like the movie Forrest Gump, he never had to do anything, and he was successful at everything. So, in having a Gump moment for me was back at that in those days, in those years, we were looking originally for how to provide biodiesel for the generators in a school, a local school in a small rural beach town community. And that was the spark and the initiation of it all. And that led me to, with a partner and I, to have ultimately 100 hectares that were fully farmed with a biofuel crop that's called Jatropha curcas. And Jatropha curcas was back at the time, a very leading and pioneering biofuel crop. So we, out of a Gump situation, happened to have had a 100-hectare monocrop plantation, the largest and the oldest back at the time. And we were the only ones able to supply enough crude Jatropha oil to the Department of Defense or the Department of Energy through a U.S. government contractor called ARA, which is Applied Research Associates. They had brought in a scientist called Lixion Li that had invented a system and a machine that can, through a hydro-treating of the Jatropha curcas oil, convert that oil into jet fuel. Anyways, so it's a very interesting story. And of course, that brought a lot of attention at the time for me. And as I said, I was able to have a recognition from Shell Oil as one of the top 25 global energies entrepreneurs at the time. I ended up selling my company at one point, which at that point I thought I had seller's remorse. So I was really suffering through when I did that, because I was essentially taken out of the market with a non-compete and confidentiality agreement that I had for several years, and basically took me out of the market. But fortunately for me, everything, the oil prices came down and the market really softened up and things changed. It became a very good blessings for me at the time. So that was a very fortunate opportunity in my life. And then I continued to evolve and waiting for the right moment to come back into the marketplace, for lack of a better word. And here I am with Resonance, emitting this frequency that we're putting out there, and we're reaching those that, they resonate that. They feel the vibration, they feel that desire for a new way of life, and we're trying to co-create it amongst us all.
Tell me a little bit about the inception of Resonance.
Yeah.
How was it to really start entire business?
So one of the ways for me to start, I 3 years in all my different startups operations that I've done, every businesses that I've been involved, every one of them, I had one common denominator difficulty throughout. So human resources was always the hard part, because to be able to pass the torch on to that next individual was really, really a challenge for them to keep that torch on. That led me to a different way of thinking, and really looking at closely more to human resources. And that's the reason I was invited and took the opportunity and joined University Nacional, in which I was lecturing for a couple of years on entrepreneurship, and really looking to find people around myself that are like-minded entrepreneurs, that have that spark of fire within them that we are seeking. And I even struggled at the university level to find those people. So when the time came to look at Resonance and look at this particular startup, I knew that my focus was going to be around the team, the humans, the people that I wanted to surround myself with, because the only way to really change the world is to do it with the right set of people around you. And ultimately came up with a concept different individuals from all over the world. And as you well see on the website, we look to attract people that are either coming for our work exchange program. And a work exchange program is a program that we have where we provide housing, provide you daily meals in exchange for whatever gifts you have to offer. And in this case, we're not really looking at curriculums. We're not looking at CVs. We're not looking about what university you graduated. We're looking at you from the heart and from your passions. What is your gifts, and what do you have to offer in exchange? And the work exchange then helped us to really launch ourselves and co-create with all these individuals. And it's part of a fundamental, important program that we're looking to continue to promote, to have a revolving door of individuals that can come to our space and be able to not only receive, but also provide their gifts. And along those lines, we have the different aspects of what we offer when we emit that frequency that we send out there, and people receive that frequency, and it tingles in their stomach, and they're not really sure what that tingling sensation really means for them yet, but they like it, or they're curious and they want to know more. All the way to where the frequency resonates in their hearts, and it just feels right, like home for them. And those individuals, and regardless of wherever they are in their path, we want to accommodate them somehow. So work exchange program is one way. The doing the co-living and co-working programs for us are ideal, because we allow for people to come in and co-work together with us. And then all the way to property ownership. So if you really like what we have here, we're not asking you to jump in and be a part of this community. We invite you first to come in to experience. And within that experience, if you find that this is a place for you, where you now want to have your avocado tree or your mango trees planted, then sure, come on in and be part of this community that we, in a collective, can help make a better place, and ultimately allow for change to take place in the world, starting from within and with us. And 10 years of just being a silent observer and understanding and paying attention to what's going on in our society, I decided to take action. Resonance was born. It's a way to create. And some people may say it's a new way of life, but it really isn't a new way of life. We're going back to our ancestors. And I'd like to say we're going back to basics. That's, I think, where our society needs to be at. So essentially looking at our society, where it is today, and looking at the mistakes and errors and how we can then come about and make them different. How can we then make the changes that are necessary for a better way of life?
I think you said it so well, and I totally agree. It's a combination of finding your inner peace and your happiness from within, without any external validation or any external influence. And then also making sure that you live with someone else or with others, like in a very strong community. And also, what I really like is that the entire food topic is for you very strongly stated on your website, to become or stay healthy by what you put into your body. We all agree that it's your body, so please also treat it well, not only
absolutely.
from the outside, but also from the inside, mentally, but also what you put into it. So the way I understand it is like, with your community and with your entire approach, you have like an holistic mindset, which leads to absolute satisfaction. And to make sure that you eat healthy, you are surrounded by good people with a positive mindset. You are working on your inner happiness, and then you're also doing things which you like and which you're good at, and they are not burning out because some of your bosses is giving you a job which you're just not, I don't know, skilled for, or haven't been trained, or just don't like it. So why would you spend time, doing something which you don't like?
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the main aspects for us is really kind of creating a landing pad for those that are just fed up, those that are just want to shut their laptop and say, you know what, I'm out of this. I'm out of this corporate world. I'm out of this being someone else's slave. I really want to do my own. I really want to branch out. And when you come to a place that has the right people involved, the set of people that think like you as well, and you have that support system, it makes it a lot easier. There are people left and right now just basically just calling quits to their careers. It has nothing to do about money anymore. It's about a lifestyle. It's about achieving balance in their life and whatever that it is that they're doing. And I think that's what everybody needs to find, is balance. And that is key. So we focus on food, nutrition, well-being over aspect of all is important. Education are clear aspects. Everything has to do with alternative health is really important. So those are key aspects and core values that we apply, as well as sustainability and other areas as well.
Of those expats or foreign investors, retirees, whoever it might be, outside of your business of resonance in Guanacaste in general, do you see that this mindset is more prevalent and more represented than somewhere else in the US or somewhere else in other Western European country or Western countries, where you say, okay, the people who have already moved to Costa Rica, who have maybe already bought real estate in Costa Rica, are anyway already a step further along the road than someone who's still in the metro in New York City?
Yeah, I mean, you could say that. Anybody that already has taken an action, and that action is, surrounding themselves in a better environment, is always ahead. And if you surround yourself with nature, if you surround yourself with better foods and more nutrition and more inner work for yourself, the answer would be yes. Again, it doesn't necessarily have to mean you have to relocate because to begin to start inside yourself. And I think that is a first step. What I do is I take people, which is a group of just 10 men. These are alpha male or women that have achieved a lot in their life. They're transformational leaders already within their communities, but they've experienced so much that they're needing something more. And I ultimately guide them to the edge of the mind, the body, and the spirit. Like for several days, and it's a very intense process, several days where we will do an initial detox sort of sweat lodge. It's called temescal. So we'll do an evening of a sweat lodge that we do the evening before. In the morning, we wake up on a fast and we go on a trek or a hike through the river and the jungle. And we'll do this for several hours, and we'll work with different plant medicines along the way, a lot of alternative healing methods that we have to work with in the process that we're doing. And we end up with a particular plant, some sort of a plant, mind expanding, plant-based therapy that we work with at the end. So essentially, we take that individual through those three components of taking you to the edge of the mind. The sweat lodge, the temescal is really an interesting one because it's a dome igloo shape where you crawl underneath and it's shut. All doors are shut and it's pitch black. You cannot see absolutely anything in front of you. And you're there under this sweat lodge aspect that's done for quite some time. So that's very intense. The intensity can then on the next day when you're on the fast, then we do this trek barefoot. And we don't necessarily force people to be barefoot, but we highly suggest it so you can find grounding and you can ground yourself to the earth. And we do this through several hours of trekking or taking the body to the edge of its own capacity sometimes. And then we work the meditative work of spiritual work, of breath work, or all the different types of healing modalities that are out there to close our sessions. So by the time people are done, there's a huge transformation that's already done in their lives. So again, there's a lot of people out there, and regardless of wherever they are in the stage of they are in their lives, we welcome them. I'm more excited to work with those that haven't really achieved that connection with nature yet. They haven't even achieved that spirituality connection with themselves. I'm more interested in working and helping with those than those that already have reached, a certain level of awakening or consciousness that they have.
Great, awesome. Where are most of the people of your clients coming from? Is it main people mainly from the US or from other parts of the world?
Yeah, I obviously North America, because of its proximity, brings us the highest amount of numbers. But I would say that, it's really all over planet Earth. People are just kind of awakening and understanding that they're looking at things differently. And whether it's a millennial or whatever generation it is, that's why it doesn't really matter where you are. You can have a complete a change of life on a near-death experience. And that can completely give you a certain level of consciousness and awareness of your life now. So there's many different ways that you can achieve that. Others do it by choice or training, and they enter into meditation, or they have certain aspects that have led them to a different way of life. And I think that's important. If there's anything that I would to say today for anyone as a homework to do is look up epigenetics. And epigenetics, EPI genetics, it's a revolution in mainstream science, and it's amazing that's not being spoken about today. I'll leave it at that because I don't want to really change the subject of your show today. But certainly a homework for everyone is to look at epigenetics and look at how powerful epigenetics is for your life and your world today.
Now you have to explain that a little bit. I don't care about my about my topic. I want to know now.
So epigenetics is it really everyone should be talking about epigenetics every day. It's a revolution of a acceptance by mainstream medicine, where mainstream medicine today has already accepted the fact that one can alter or change your genetics or your DNA. That's what epigenetics is, and it happens either by your environment, right, changes that, or whatever your practice or your inner work does changes your DNA and ultimately will change your environment, meaning will surround you with nature, will surround you with a way of life that is more in harmony and balance. So epigenetics in the scientific, medical, psychological world is the acceptance of that. And when they accept that you can alter and change your DNA and your inner work, that is self-healing. That means you have the ability to heal yourself. And that, my friend, is huge and powerful.
I've never heard about it. It's super interesting. So that also then combines or translates into kind of this assumption that, I mean, probably for you it's a fact, and for a lot of people it's an assumption that most of the diseases you have and illnesses are mentally based, and then you can also, via thinking or via meditation, you can also be more healthy and also not become ill in the first place.
Yes, and also, you're a product of your environment. So if you're surrounded by toxicity, if you're surrounded by people that don't bring any value into your life or into your world, those are things that also affect. So it can come from within or it can come from the outside, and this is where awareness needs.
I'm super honest. I think it's something which many more people are thinking about and are dealing with than someone might assume. For me, for example, I have started to delete or get rid of people who are mainly negative. It doesn't make any sense to really surround yourself around negative people. So only seek positivity, seek people who are ambitious, seek people who are also like, you also feel like there's an energy flow between me and the other person, because life is limited and time is limited. And me personally, I do believe in energy flowing between people. And each interaction, sometimes negative, sometimes positive. And it's not only like it's always dynamic. And everything you say, I at least like translate into exactly this idea of whenever I have an interaction with someone else, there is an energy flowing. And sometimes it's just bad, sometimes it's just positive, sometimes it's excellent. And you can be kind of in a zone with someone else when you're just like meeting someone and then you're like having a conversation and then you're just flowing and then it's just not stopping because you have such a strong connect. Isn't it that everyone should like seeking that and even striving to be in such a zone, not only with the people you're surrounding yourself with, but also with the things you're doing?
Yeah, I mean, it really, again, the work starts within. It starts with one. It's looking in the mirror and it's going deep inside within yourself. It all starts with that.
Mm-hmm.
For example, I reached this stage in my life where I discovered what depression was. And that's how my catalyst of change and awakening took place. It started from that. Went through a process of divorce and separation. That brought me down to a state of depression, which I, prior to that, had no empathy for people that were going through a depression state. I would say, oh, that's in your head. That's a click in your, you could easily switch that. That's just you. But I had no idea. I had no awareness of that until I experienced it. And in my past, I was always anti-drugs, anti-substance, anti-anything. I would take, if I had a headache, I would just drink water and go to sleep to let the headache pass by. But when I discovered what the symptoms of depression was, and I recognized, wow, I'm in this situation, then I ultimately I put a timeline. I says, after this time, I am going to be out of it, and I was. And when I came out of it, I decided to start a new way of thinking, a new way of life, a new way of stepping out of this little box in which we've been programmed. I've been programmed. We've all been programmed, and stepping out of that and being able to enter into a world with an open heart and with the ability to listen, to learn, to observe, and without judgment. And that has led me into more than 10 years of a spiritual walk that I've been going through. And it's been an incredible journey, and one that I have a lot to share with and a lot to give to those that are still in their process, are still maybe in this box of sort. So again, property, real estate, investment, all of that is secondary, because it really starts with having your own inner peace and loving who you are, what you have, and then you will be able to find everything that you're looking for. Because some people are ultimately just trying to cover their own emotions with making purchases in real estate where they don't even really want to be. So it's finding the true essence of your heart and taking it from there.
Thinking about the situation when you were at a very depressed point and you were very, very down. You said like, okay, I just decided that by time X, I'm going to be out of it. It sounds, easily said or easier said than obviously done. Was there any turning point or any certain situation where you were like, okay, this was actually the stepping stone which helped me, like really when the dice started rolling, when it really helped me to find the right path, and then you started to go down the rabbit hole, and then you're right now like really, really deep into this entire internal peace mode, which is the right path. So was a certain turning point?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was ultimately 20 years of marriage that kind of just crumbled. That crumble and an aspect of life was a hardship that I went through, a very strong hardship that I went through in my life, and then again, what the turning point was the awareness. So I recognize that's the only way anyone can change.
Yeah.
Is just being aware that something is not how it's supposed to be, and then you need to make the change. If you don't have that awareness, you're like living like everyone else. You have no idea. So awareness is number one. So when I discovered the symptoms and realized, oh, this is what depression is. I didn't go seek medical attention. I didn't go seek a psychologist. I didn't go seek medication. I just realized to be able to step out of it. So for me, I follow a 3 rule of thumb. Actually, it was like 3 months left. The year was going to end. When the year ends, the year starts. A new start will be for me. And I had to work that process for those 3 months that were left. And then I ultimately got to the 3 months, and the new year came. Here it is, a new life. I'm going to take a different path, more open-minded path. And fortunately, I had the advantage of a friend who was a guide and who had walked with me already, and I was able to trust rather than going into research and analyzing and trying to figure it all out. I trusted, and that trust brought me into some plant teachers, and these plant teachers were able to show me what it is to be in a meditative state, what it is to find and ultimately reach your higher self and see that higher self. And that is a shortcut. Some people enter meditation. Some people, when you ask yourself, what is a Buddhist monk up there who gave everything of belongings in this world to go and enter into meditation? Why is it that they're doing it? So have you questioned that? And if you haven't questioned that, you should question it, because they're doing it for a reason. And there's something there. And people that enter into meditation work and do that kind of inner self work, there is something there. And what is there is a 3-letter word. And it's an acronym, 3-letter acronym, which is DMT, dimethyltryptamine, which happens to be a chemical which is inside your brain, inside the pineal gland that you have here. And it's released naturally at birth, at death, during peak experience moments, or traumatic experience, it peaks out. Or if you enter into meditation and yoga and certain practices that allow for that secretion to take place naturally. Or you end up utilizing plant medicine, or plant therapy, as I like to call it, to be able to take a shortcut, or maybe a cheat, I would say, just to get you there, to know, oh, this is how it feels. This is what it is. This is the destination of where these people are at. And I assure you, you will want to be there yourself once you have that feeling and understand it and sense it. And then, it's a little bit more deeper and complex than just that, but that is a very easy, superficial way, at least for me and my experience and my journey, how it was. And I hope it helps anybody out there listening.
Super, super interesting. For me, like, obviously, it's always hard to boil down what you said, like, to one keyword. But for me, I think it's about a lot starts with the self-awareness part, which you mentioned in the beginning, like really starting to understand, like, hey, it's not like this person, like, it's not only this person who I left in my life, or who I lost in my life. It's about, like, actually, I have to start with myself. I just first have to start, who am I? And actually, I just need to be happy with or without any external influence, and then start, and then anyway, I will attract different people who might be loving me again, and who then want to be part of my life. And I think once you are opening yourself up, then you can really start questioning and really start going through the entire process of really finding yourself. And then, as you said, like, it's then the second matter is, like, what are you dedicating yourself to? Yes, buying real estate is cool, buying a car is cool, but in fact, like, it will not make you happy in the long run if you're not happy in general.
Yeah. Buy it with intention, buy it with purpose. Have meaning in your life.
Yeah. Is there any literature you can recommend which helped you along this journey?
Listen, there is an abundance of information. As a matter of fact, our generation, this world today, and our humanity has something that didn't have before, which is access to information.
Mm-hmm.
So we choose to be ignorant is because we choose to be ignorant. But if you did the homework and do the search, you will find what you're seeking. So, and it's funny, but there's people that find what they're seeking, they see it, but they decide to dismiss it or not look at it because they don't want to make a change. But ultimately, the information is there. Anything that I've spoken to and spoken about today is readily available in many different websites and any search that you do. Again, if you're fascinated by the topic and want to get to the main aspect of it all, I would say research anything that has to do with dimethyltryptamine. Look into that, DMT, because all roads, listen to this, all roads lead to DMT. Okay? That is the essence of it all. So if there's anything that I can gift in your show today for your audience and those that are listening to, is research DMT. And there's many ways to achieve dimethyltryptamine release, but look into it and figure out what's the best way for you.
I think it's also mentioned in one book which I read 10 years ago, The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. I think he also mentions that. Back to your business. Can you promote your business to the audience? Is there a package? Is there a retreat? Is there something which people can book online?
Yeah, so I would say, there's really nothing to kind of like, there's everything really. Not that there's nothing, there's really everything. So there's something for everyone, regardless of where you are in your life. So whether you're looking to kind of experience what we have down here, then book a retreat with us. Come down. You don't have time for one of those retreats and the dates we have, then come down and co-work with us. If you're further ahead, come and co-live. So you can come here for a 3-day weekend getaway to get the feeling of what's down here and what's going on. You can come down here for a 5-day, 7-day, 10-day retreat. You can come down here and work exchange and become a work exchanger, or you can ultimately come down and end up co-working, co-living, and being part of our community, or ultimately having property ownership within our 350 hectares that we have. We currently have 62 villas right now. They're all fully equipped, 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom villas with 3 sets of pools. And we are relatively close to the beach in Playa Lagarto. We are in between Nosara and Tamarindo. And as I said, this is a starting grounds for resonance and where we're emitting this frequency. And if this touches upon any interest for you, then reach out. We have something for everyone.
I think Yes, and also people can call you concerning real estate topics on this region. If it's like, okay, I would like to combine it. Let's say, I would like to get a hold of this region, get the first foot into the door, but also have someone who is sympathetic and who I really have sympathy with, but also has experience in the real estate sector and knows the market a little bit. So I think that would be definitely a great option to have a great vacation, which you can combine with different purposes.
Yeah, and we're looking for people to come and join us at whatever level you are. And if you happen to be an investor and are interested in investing, come down. We have new thoughts and ideas for things that we want to do in a different way, and in a very sustainable way, in a conscious way, an environmental way. And this is, if all of this is new to you, then come and experience. And then if it's not new to you, then come to the family and be part of what we're doing here, and just join us.
Awesome. Daniel, I think it was a great interview. Super interesting, super spiritual, and super inspiring. No, I really liked it. Because it's also like, to be honest, it's also sometimes, or those are topics which I talk a lot about with a friend of mine here in Zurich, and it's about getting rid of seeking external validation and getting out of this wrong dopamine loop, and having your own one, having your own bio dopamine loop, and not the social media one or any other one. How can people contact you if they're interested to reach out to you?
Sure, they can reach me out via LinkedIn, Daniel Yepez. You can find me there.
Mm-hmm.
You're welcome to send me a WhatsApp if you'd like, and my number for that is 506-8818-0262, and or reach out through the website, which is resonancecr.com, and
Perfect.
just kind of peruse through the website and look through what you like, and reach out, make contact.
I'll put all the contact information to the description. And Daniel, it was really nice chatting with you, talking to you, and I send the best regards to Costa Rica.
Yes, thank you, Michael. Great chatting with you. And as we say in Costa Rica, pura vida.
Pura vida.
Thanks so much.
Okay, have a nice one. Bye-bye.
Bye for now. Cheers.